This is All About the Song.
Welcome to the 108th episode of All About the Song and the first video episode. If you've been a longtime listener of All About the Song, you'd know that this is a big step. This is my face. And I hope that you are excited, well, at least as excited as I am for this, massive change to this podcast. It's still going to be the same if you're an audio listener. Everything will be pretty much the same as it's always been, but video's been an absolutely unbelievable transformation, and I'm going to save the story as to how it happened for a solo podcast that I'll do in the not too distant future, because it's been a absolutely just amazing circumstance that streamlined this huge development. And I'd like to thank Dan and Brian for making this possible. We also have a very exciting announcement, and that's All About the Song is releasing a sister podcast hosted by Tal Weisman. It's called Everything But the Song. And it's a podcast, as Tal said best, it's kind of the conversation that happens when we... You okay there? It's the conversation that happens when we end All About the Song, in a sense. It's the kind of all the different stuff about the artist that happens around the music. I've always had Tal on the podcast. We've done about 4 episodes together, whether it be through Kadima or just himself. And we've always had fantastic conversations, and I'm really excited for you all to hear what he brings as a host. We've been recording episodes for a while now, and it's been an amazing experience to put this all together into the Sounds Like Song network. So it's a YouTube channel. So if you're watching us now, subscribe, like, hit the notification so you know when a new episode is coming out. All About the Song is going to come out 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. Everything But the Song Thursday at 7 a.m. This is going to be super consistent, and if you've been with us since the beginning, you'll know that I have not always been the most inconsistent, but now we have no reason not to be. Our first guest on the podcast is Tyler Shaw, a musician currently living in Toronto, originally from British Columbia. He has released some absolutely wonderful music over the last 8 years. He has most recently released a single called Remember, which is absolutely beautiful. Before that, his album Intuition was just absolutely amazing. In this conversation, we talk about all the different things that he has been up to, how he's been handling COVID-19, and kind of what he sees for himself artistically and just in life. He's recently married. His wife, Alex, is expecting. He is a wonderful person, and I've known Tyler for a long time. His manager, Danny Reiner, who's also been on this podcast, has had me fill in on bass for Tyler. I've also been an extra in a music video of his, and it has been really cool to champion or root for such a wonderful artistic individual. I've really been looking forward to the day that we would sit down and have this discussion, and Tyler did not disappoint. So here we are, episode 108 of All About the Song, featuring Tyler Shaw. Congratulations on the new song, Remember.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I don't know how you feel about for me, for example, like sometimes there's just songs regardless of genre or who you know or whatever, and it's just hits you, and it's like, oh, I'm going to listen to this like for the next week. And I mean, I'm a fan of all your music, and I've listened to it all extensively and have various relationships with it. But this song in particular, like, this is just fantastic.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was actually co-written and co-produced by Frank Walker and myself and a guy named Nick Enriquez. It was different for me because those guys, if you're familiar with them, they're EDM producers.
Yeah.
They're DJs. So I connected with Frank after he did a remix of my song With You.
Yeah.
And that's how we got together. And he called me up that summer, summer of 2019. And he was like, let's get in the studio. Instead of me remixing one of your tracks, let's get into the studio and create something together. I was like, of course, no brainer. Like, let's get creative. Let's do it. I'm all about collaboration. So it was me, Frank, and Nick in the studio. And a couple days prior to the session, I remember I thought of that guitar lick that you hear at the intro on top of the song. Yeah. And I was like, this got to be something. So I'll be sure to take this, keep it in the bank, and take it to Frank and Nick's session. So I did that. I took it and I was like, what do you guys think? Blah, blah, blah. Immediately they're like, absolutely, let's do this. You know, Nick was on the keys at the time and he's like putting together the loop and stuff. And Frank and I are bouncing ideas back and forth with melody and concept and musical arrangement and all that stuff. And then it just freaking blossomed into this beautiful dance song. Yeah. You know, where we left it, there was no drop. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then when I got the demo back like a week later, that's when they put in that drop in there. And I was like, damn, this is good, you know? But it was definitely a new flavor for me. And that was actually supposed to be Frank's song at the time. It was supposed to be a Frank Walker song featuring Tyler Shaw.
Cool. Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Listening to it in comparison to like your catalog.
Yes.
But I like it being a Tyler Shaw song.
It's way so different for me. Definitely leading off of like my two last singles, With You, To the Man Who Let Her Go. You wouldn't have expected this from me, but that's what I kind of like. I'm like, I want to keep people on their toes. I want to be versatile. I want to show what I can do musically. You know, my voice sounds great on a ballad, but my voice also sounds great on an EDM song. You know, like it's kind of in a very soft way. It's like, look what I can do. You know, But yeah, I'm super happy with the outcome, and we had a great release day. So. Very happy.
It's really cool because, like, it's funny because the riff is like, that's a total Tyler Shaw riff.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, it doesn't sound like a Tyler Shaw riff. Like the sonics of it are very different. Like it's very filtered.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was like, that's him. Yeah. And then it comes in with like that pulsing.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I was thinking about, there's like a real marriage in between the two. Like I can hear the Tyler Shaw and your voice comes in and it's like, your voice is your voice. Like it's literally your signature.
Right.
But it was like, I was just, I love, and the drop was exciting too, because none of your music, like you have very epic choruses in a lot of your music. And I was wondering if it was going to be like subdued, and I was kind of just with my headphones in the apartment going like, is he going to do it? Is it going? And I'm like looking at my cats going like, I think it's going to happen. And then, and then it hit and it was like, oh, perfect. It's like fastball right down the middle.
Right.
Like sometimes you kind of want to get too cute with like songs and ideas. And this one was just like, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And interesting that you said about like, kind of like deciding what to do next. And nobody would have expected this in a sense. But because of that, I feel like this doesn't have to be like the trajectory of where you go. This is just like such a banger.
Yeah. I mean, part of deciding to release this as like my own song was the fact that the world is in such a hurt state, or I guess it's on its way to recovery very slowly. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a lot of shit going on that's just, people are down. People are exhausted and anxious and just like sick and tired of it, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a good opportunity and a good way to just try to lift up spirits, release an up-tempo, energetic, fun song. And so that was part of the decision to be like, you know what, this is perfect timing. It may not be the Tyler Shaw sound.
Yeah.
However, I love it, and I guarantee people are gonna love it. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The one thing, okay, I don't know if, would you do an acoustic version of this song?
100%. Already have.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I haven't had it recorded yet, but I do have like, you know, I did a virtual concert like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I did acoustic Remember for the first time, you know, so it's doable. It's very much doable.
So doable. Yeah. Like, yeah. And you don't really have to even like fake anything or change much.
Nope,
like
nothing at all.
That's the really nice thing about a good song in general is like those principles of like, you should be able to play it on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The campfire test.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was one of the nice things. It was like transitions to an EDM song, but it's still guitar driven.
Yep.
And you could throw it into a live set and kind of blend it in with the rest of your catalog, or you could do it at an EDM festival.
Right.
Or you could play it on a live
very
stream.
Versatile. That one song, it can be played so many different ways. And that's the interesting thing about music in general. Like if yes, there's usually a production version and then an acoustic version. But when you think about it, when you write a song on acoustic guitar, depending on that artist, you can produce it in a Latin way, you can produce it in a deep house way, pop way, I don't know, jazz if you wanted to. It all depends. So if I go and write a pop song, so to speak, whether or not you depends on what production you put behind it.
Yeah.
Will determine what kind of song that actually is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember my very first band in high school. The guitar player, Alex Pulick, wrote our first good song.
Right.
And we just kept playing it over and over all night.
Yeah.
In every way we could do it, like bossa nova or something. And we were just so excited.
So you were changing up the arrangements and changing up the style.
We were just trying to, it was like, let's make it reggae.
How did you know it was a good song?
Because we could do that.
Right.
That's why we were
there you go.
Because we couldn't do it with the rest of our songs. It was like this song in particular, it was the first time we did something that was simple.
Yep.
We were young, so we were trying to throw in every just fill it up. We were like, I mean, the drummer and I, we were like sponges in water. Like, it's like if there was one where like, I'll do something here. But it was like, because people sometimes tell you lessons about music and songs and they say things to you as like sage advice,
right?
But you're not ready for it.
Right.
You're like, this just makes it harder because now I have to think about this too.
Yeah.
It's like somebody trying to correct your swing on the golf course. You're
right.
like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah.
But when all of a sudden you naturally get there and you look at that lesson and you're like, oh, I get it now. And it's amazing. And I got to say, like, most of your music is very transferable.
Right.
You could do anything with a lot of those songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I have a specific sound in my head that I'm going for.
Yeah.
Remember, like I said, super fun track. But I'm looking forward to releasing the new stuff that is part of the album that's going to be coming spring 2021.
Ooh.
Yes, I've been working super hard at this, and obviously I'm biased, but I think it's some of my best work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so your career has been going on for a very long time.
I think we're year 8. Yeah.
And it's wild because, we met, I had already listened to your first songs on the radio before I met you.
Right.
And it's amazing to think that, 8 years have gone by really quickly, but you've been like, I message your manager, Danny Reiner, who's been on this podcast.
Yep.
Every time I go into Tim Hortons, I'm like, Tyler Shaw's on.
There we go.
You're doing your job, buddy. And but it's just totally wild to watch the transformation continue. But before we break off and remember, I wanted to ask you about the music video.
Oh yeah.
Like, how is it like doing a music video during COVID?
It was honestly not that different. The only difference is that people were wearing masks.
Yeah.
And they were very 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
So, I was wearing a mask, makeup was wearing a mask, wardrobe, mask, everyone was wearing a mask. I would take my mask off as soon as I would get in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And then I would put it back on after I get off. That was the only difference, is like, oh, we're doing masks now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but everything else was the same. Yeah. You have your call time, you show up, you put the wardrobe on, you do your makeup, and then it's go time.
And you work with young astronauts.
Which
have been doing like the last...
They did Intuition. So I've been working with them ever since Intuition, and they're so freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Nev and Mark, those two, my point people at the Young Astronauts, and they just get it. They get my vision. They get me as a person, and they understand what I say into words, they put into vision, which is very hard to do. I could be like, this, that, and the other thing, and it could make zero sense it probably does make zero sense to most people, but they're like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
So, don't worry, we got it.
Well, they're a tight-knit crew. I might have mentioned to you this before, but Mark used to play in a band like 15 years ago. It was like a noise band. Like, it was like 8 members.
Wow.
And he would paint on stage while they performed.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was an extra in The Man Who Let Her Go.
Okay, yes, you were. Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
I saw Danny put on Facebook that they needed some extras, and I was playing a gig that night, and I thought to myself, like, I'll be done at 12:30. I'll be super jacked up. Call time's 1 a.m. I'm like, I'm the guy.
It was 1
I can totally do this. And then I got there. I'm like, oh, there's like 26 other people. I was like, oh, they didn't need me that much. Yeah. But it was so cool to just see them work. And I I was excited to watch their process and just to see like they're such a tight-knit crew and they're like laser focused.
Exactly, yeah.
And some of the things that they did, like the way that they got like the shimmeriness, like they really were experimenting.
Yeah, using crystals or whatever in front of the lens. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool stuff. Like they think of everything.
Yeah, and it's got to be cool to have a group that understand your vision that you're like kind of working in tandem with at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you're talking about a group of people you're working with. Everybody that's part of your team, whether it's music industry, another arts or entertainment industry as a whole, or business-wise like finance or something.
Yeah.
The group you're working with, everyone has to be in tandem. So I'm the artist. There's the marketing team at Young Astronauts. You have your label, you have your management, lawyers if you want to include them, and business management. And there's a lot of moving parts to this industry. So making sure everybody's on the same page and everybody is working in tandem is very, very important. So
yeah, because if they are, then you can be an artist.
Exactly.
And when it isn't, you end up doing things that you don't know.
Yeah.
Like reading a legal document. And you're like, what is this? Like, and sometimes, it's funny too to think of like so much infrastructure around creativity because you really do need so many people pulling so that you can just freely make a decision.
Yeah. But, that goes without saying, like, you can be taken advantage of in this industry as well. So making sure those people that you're working with actually have your best interest in mind is very, very important and very valuable. So I learned the hard way. I'll leave it at that. But throughout my experience, just make sure you ask questions and you don't jump to the first thing you see.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So speaking of jumping the first thing you see, I've heard that, you did the Coca-Cola contest and you won it like a cover thing.
Yes.
And that's always mentioned in like articles as like,
that's right.
This. But before that, how did you get into music? Like what was the thing that like you liked or was there like a song or an instrument?
I can't pinpoint it to one specific time or one specific song. But I do remember picking up the guitar from underneath this staircase at my house that I grew up in and just started playing it. Yeah. It was Vancouver. I assume it was a rainy day, nothing else to do. So I started playing it and I was having fun with it. And I wrote my first song like the day I picked up my guitar.
Oh, you bastard.
It wasn't a good song. I'm not gonna I'll be honest with you. It was a garbage song. But it was fun. I had such a fun time doing it. And that was when I was 13, I think, 13 or 14. And I've been playing and writing ever since. So, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how old were you when this happened?
13 or 14 years old, yeah.
So like, that's like the perfect time.
Yeah, yeah. You're in, I guess that's just entering high school. You're like, emotional and, in love, or you think you're in love. And there's so many things going on. So tons of experiences to write it.
Well, the thing too is that like, I don't know. Did you have like people at school that were also kind of like learning the same thing at a time? Like, did you have people that you were kind of like jamming with or playing music with?
Yeah, no, I went through a few different bands with obviously ridiculous names.
Of course.
One being Shattered Glass. The other being All the Way. That was the band name.
Oh.
We didn't go all the way. But it's all part of the journey. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then
Unintentional Genius.
Yeah. That's actually not a bad name.
It's a little weird.
I don't mind it.
It's kind of cool.
Let's start a band.
Okay.
No, man, it's all part of the journey, and that's so important to remember. It's like you could be struggling in your high school band or middle school band or wherever you are, but these are stepping stones to where you're going to end up and where you will be successfully. So
you do enter this contest. Did you have to come to Toronto for it?
I didn't. I was actually going to the University of Prince Edward Island.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I went literally coast to coast. Like I said, grew up in Vancouver. The reason why I went all the way to Prince Edward Island, which is the Atlantic Ocean side of Canada, is that I got a soccer scholarship to go there. So that was actually my main focus. I was like, I'm going to play on Team Canada. We're going to go to the World Cup, and then I'm going to play for some, EPL team in England or whatever, wherever.
Yeah.
That was like the dream, and I was taking sociology as a degree.
Nice.
Was it? Was it?
I find that everyone that gets a sociology degree asks like somebody a couple years older than them
Yeah.
to be like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Not to knock
Yeah.
sociology.
No.
but-
It's super. It honestly is useful, especially with human connection and learning how people are and
Absolutely.
stuff like that. So, I only took, what did I take? 2 semesters of it, and then I entered this competition, like you said, and through that won the competition
It's
and
crazy.
met Sony,
Yeah.
and then released. It all happened in 6 to 9 months.
Whoa.
Competition won. Sat down with Sony, released my first single,
Which is
"Kiss Goodnight," back
which
in
has
20.
been like a crazy huge song.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. And I always give it up to people, to the fans, to whoever was listening to it, because I didn't have anyone. I didn't have management. I didn't have a team. I only had the label.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were a major part in it. But because it was received so well from fans and from the public, that's what jump-started my career. And I won't ever forget that.
Yeah. I mean, a big jump start.
Yeah.
When this all happened, you know, this is obviously like kind of an unprecedented experience to have something, your debut song just blows up.
Mhm.
You know, as you're saying, like soccer was your main focus. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like to kind of transition and be like, oh, I guess this is what I do now?
It was tough because I was doing music as a passion project for me. It was like an outlet. Like soccer was my main focus, like you're saying. So I was doing soccer. Literally, the training schedule was Tuesday to Friday train, Saturday, Sunday games, Monday is your day off. So I was literally doing 6 days a week. And when I was feeling, stressed out or, had episodes of anxiety, I would sit down and play music and create music. And that was my outlet. So that's why I jumped at this opportunity to release my first song or release music in general.
Yeah.
Because I was in love with it. I was in love with creating music. So I was like, why not? Like, why can't I make this a career? When I got into it, Kiss Goodnight came out, second single By My Side came out, and Sony then signed me to like a full album deal. It was like, oh, this is the real deal. We're going for it. Like, this is real life.
Yeah.
That was a hard transition for me because I was now using my outlet that I was, when I was stressed as my career. So I was doing it all the time. So I didn't have an outlet now because I was in it full time. So I needed to find some kind of outlet. You can guess what my outlet is now. Playing soccer. So it completely switched.
Yeah.
So I can just go kick a ball around for 30 minutes. That's all it takes for me to just clear my mind.
Yeah.
And it's very important to me and being active in general. But soccer is like my number one. If I'm having a shitty week or a shitty day, I'll just go outside, kick the ball around, and release steam.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, you went on a trip to the UK. You did like a writing trip there.
That's right, yeah.
And you got set up to go to like Old Trafford.
That's right, yeah.
Which is pretty sick because it's
incredible. Like growing up watching Man U play, and that's like my family's team, right? So being on the grounds at such a legendary stadium was it was incredible, a dream come true.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't let us touch the grass though, and that's
really?
So for players and officials only.
Wow.
You can get this close, but they won't let you touch it.
It is cool that you're able to, or music has allowed you also to, to have like these things in tandem in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be pretty cool to get to fulfill soccer dreams through music in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, so we did the Old Trafford visit. And then 2 years ago, I was actually able to play on the home turf of where the Whitecaps play at BC.
Cool.
The BC Stadium. Yeah, BC Stadium.
Yeah.
In Vancouver. And obviously growing up in Vancouver, I was a big Whitecaps fan. So it was for a charity game before an actual Whitecaps FC match. And that was a dream come true. Scored a goal, did all the celebrating.
Yeah.
That was very, very cool. But yeah, like you're saying, like music has definitely given me these opportunities and these experiences that I don't know if I would be able to have without music. So.
Yeah. It's cool when those perks, you get those like little perks.
Yeah. Memories, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
I there's like a Juno's hockey game that takes place. And it's funny because that's like the only thing my dad has ever said is like, you think one day you give? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, that's really tough. But that's like my the one thing I'll be like, that would be really cool.
That would be cool.
To play on there and just like just get hammered by a NHL alumni.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
With releasing Kiss Goodnight, it goes really big. You release like a bunch of songs afterwards for a couple of years, and then the album came out in 2015.
2015 was the first album called Yesterday.
Yeah. So you had like kind of like a succession of hit songs, and like each one of them had like a lot of character and like real singles, like really beefy songs. But since you kind of hit a grand slam on the first try, what was it like to follow up?
You know, I was so naive. I was 19 years old, so I wasn't really thinking of anything. Like no pressure came to mind whatsoever. I was literally just doing what felt right and kind of following the leader at that point, because I was so new in the industry. I didn't know what I was doing. So I knew how to write songs. So that's what I was doing, and everything else was just a learning process, going through it and learning everything.
Yeah.
So when Kiss Goodnight came out, we released second single called By My Side, did just as well. And then the full album, I can't even remember what's House of Cards, Wicked.
House of Cards is a huge song.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites still to this day. And then I think those are the four on the album that, in my mind, were the best singles.
Was Wicked on the album?
Yep, that's on the first album. Yeah. So yeah, that whole album was great.
Yeah.
Very, very cool experience. But I think moving into Intuition, that's when I kind of got a better grasp on, oh, this is what I want to do with my art, and this is who I am, and all that. I had more life experience at that point. So
absolutely. Well, also being around for the development of that album on like almost like a peripheral, just hearing about it, talking about it, especially Danny just being like, this is what we're gonna do different and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it feels, I don't want to say grown up, but it's more mature. Like it feels 100%, focused.
100%. Yeah. That's part of it, is growing up and being a little bit more mature. I say a little bit because there's a kid inside of everyone, right? So yeah, Intuition was definitely a turning point for me, where I was like, I get it now. I get it. I don't get 100% of it. I'm still learning about this industry and in the business and all the other stuff that's going on. But for the most part, it's like, I understand who I am as an artist. I understand who I am as a person. Therefore, I can translate that into music.
Yeah. One of the things I loved about the album too was you used your Chinese name as well.
That's right.
And I thought that was like, first off, it's just like, it looks beautiful, and with the merch and stuff like that, it just like it
makes
had like
sense.
Yeah. Was that a conscious decision to add it in?
Absolutely. Yeah. So back in 2016 or 2015, actually, I can't remember now, but I took a trip to Hong Kong with my father. And this is very important to me because not everyone knows this, but growing up, my parents got divorced when I was very, very young, like 3 years old. And there has been like separation ever since. So taking a trip to Hong Kong with my father was a very big deal to me, because I literally just called him up and I said, I want to learn more about this side of me that I've never really experienced. So we did a trip. It was like a week and a half, and he showed me everything, where he grew up, family that I've never met before. My grandparents over there on my dad's side of the family, the graves where my great grandparents are, and all that stuff. So that trip really was important for me, and in learning about who I am. So that's why I incorporated the Chinese name, which is pronounced Ipminghang, which translates to roughly engraved in English.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was a very special trip, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah. It adds a worldliness to your artistry in a sense. And I think that it's really cool. Like even your Facebook name has the lettering in it, and it's just, I don't know, it's very internet. It's very worldly in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
Also, it's cool that your name means something so badass.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like
you could have ended up with
noodles
like
or something,
doorstop or something.
Exactly.
And I don't think they ever give names with bad meanings. Like everyone's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's cool, and I think also with Intuition coming out, I don't know if you felt like there was pressure because you're following up such success.
Yeah.
But I mean, the first song you release is "Miss You," And it's just, I mean, I don't know, it feels like it was just perfect in the sense that you have like the grown-up version of what you've already kind of laid down in your groundwork.
Right. I think the pressure came in, I want to say like halfway in between yesterday and Intuition, when I was mid-creation of Intuition.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily coming from management or the label or the industry. It was coming from myself.
Right.
I was putting a lot of pressure on myself because I knew I had all this success on the past album. I wanted to better myself, and I also wanted to better the project, better the music. I just wanted to get better. So I was doing everything I can and exhausting myself in a safe way, I guess. I was just going, but I knew when to take breaks.
Yeah.
Which is very important. So if you're listening to this and you're exhausted right now, I suggest you go take 5.
After you finish listening
After you
to
finish,
this.
of course. Yeah, so that was a turning point when it was like, I'm putting pressure on myself. And this is a whole learning process, right?
Yeah.
I'm putting pressure on myself. I'm writing. I'm barely getting any sleep. I'm thinking of ideas. My phone is filled with like voice notes and like middle of the night bullshit things that I can't even remember. I can't even make sense of it in the next morning. But all of these things led to Intuition, you know, with the breaks included. So I'm very conscious of the fact that you need to take breaks now. When it just gets too much, you know?
Absolutely, because you're not really ever going to get that song you want to out of that forced desperation.
I always say that. Don't ever force something. If you're in a writing session and it's like 5 hours into it and you've got yourself half a chorus and it's just like pulling teeth, it's okay to walk away.
Yeah, because when you walk away, it'll just fall out of your head.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh my God, there it is.
Exactly. You shouldn't feel ashamed of that.
No.
Not at all.
So you follow it up. I called it "Miss You" with you.
Right.
You follow it up with some absolutely huge songs. I mean, that's got to feel fantastic. Just to have like, you know, big time hits come out again.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how to describe the feeling. Maybe euphoric.
Yeah.
would be an appropriate word, but I can't really explain it into. I don't know, let's say you're a lawyer and you win a big case. Maybe that's the feeling, you know?
I know your manager was pretty pumped.
yeah, I know. I think everyone was.
Everyone was.
When a song wins, the team wins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everyone is super excited when things go well. And you just have to stay positive about it, especially on a new project. Like for Remember, for example, it's like, okay, I haven't released music in 2 years. Who knows? Maybe people don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Thankfully, my fans are loyal and they're still there, and it's only growing. But you just got to go into it 110% and be positive about it. So,
yeah. It's been a thrill watching your musical career blossom. It's been really nice for me to see it through the eyes of Mike Sleeth, who's playing drums for me at the beginning.
That's right. Yeah,
it was cool to have this song I liked on the radio all of a sudden be associated to a person I knew. Right. And then to watch this person take the next steps and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's been a treat.
Awesome.
It's just been so cool to watch. Awesome. I know you have an album that will be coming out.
Yeah.
Congratulations on getting married.
Thank you.
And you have a little bun in the oven.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I mean, things are moving. Life is moving just as fast as the career, which is pretty fun. I got married in 2018 and now 2020, one hell of a year. Trying to make it better by, we're expecting our first child in December. So,
oh man, Sagittarius.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Good
yeah.
luck.
And it's so funny because I remember when we found out the due date, I looked up because I'm an Aries.
Yeah.
So I looked up Father Aries, Sagittarius kid and the relationship. And we're good. We're good. So I'm like, this is going to be great.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. Well, you got a lot. I usually end these podcasts with, and I've realized this is the first time we're doing video, and I have no idea how we're going to end it. But I always ask, what's next?
Wow, what is next? We've seen the growth alone from the release day of Remember, which was on Friday, August 14th, with places like Norway and Australia and Malaysia and Indonesia picking up the singles. Wow. So what's next? I don't know for sure. I don't think anyone knows for sure, but I know that we are definitely planning to go international. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Tyler for being on the podcast. All his links are in the description. Be sure to check him out if you haven't already. This podcast is available in audio at Apple Podcasts, Google Music Play, Spotify, video at YouTube. Wherever you listen or watch the podcast, if you could rate, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how it's going, how you feel, and what you enjoyed. For questions, comments, and suggestions for guests you'd like to hear on the podcast, send us an email, allaboutthesong@gmail.com. Our website for past episodes, www.allaboutthesongpodcast.com. So for Tyler Shaw, I'm Michael McDonnell. Episode 108 is in the books. We'll see you next week.